Good morning, everybody. My name is Vika Shipalana, and this is my husband.
Bonke Shipalana.
And we've been married for just over 14 years now. We have two beautiful daughters, Ntako, who is 13, and Jody, who is 10. And we're very honored to be here today to share with you all about our understanding, at least, of what compromise means, particularly in a marriage or any other relationship for that matter. My husband is the speaker in this relationship, not me. So I'm going to hand over to him to sort of lay the foundation for us around what compromise means, at least in a theoretical sense. And then we will probably get into some dialogue a little later, and hopefully, you'll have something to take out of this discussion today.
Again, thank you for the opportunity and the invite. As we were growing up as individuals, we were taught to follow your own path, know who you are, believe in yourself, which is true. But unfortunately, we live in a world with 7.9 billion individuals. You marry someone who, for the first 20 to 25 years of their lives, they had their own parents, their own cultures, their own thinking. So having two people come together and suddenly have to take what they've learned the last few years and put it into one pot definitely is a struggle, definitely is challenging, but I know that it is possible. T.D. Jakes once said that it's impossible to be in this world and not compromise. It's impossible to be in this world and not change for the benefit of others. I went further to say that even if you buy a fish and keep a fish at home, it will change your lifestyle. It will change your personality. You have to come back at a certain time to feed it. So if a fish can change how you think or compromise, what about another individual? So for us, we're going to touch a bit on compromise, and we try to define compromise in its easiest term. We say that to compromise is to give something that you want in order to reach an agreement. And you see from that particular sentence, it's about giving up. It's not about taking, it's not about winning. You have to give up. So there's something that is within you that you have to let go in order to reach a certain destination, agreement, goal, or objective. And that's the basic of compromise. If you are not willing to give up, never get into a situation that requires compromise. Simply meaning, farmer, don't be on earth, because in this planet you have to give up something.
Yeah. I think, the greatest example, and I know my husband didn't want us to give personal examples, but I thought, you know what? It will add some meat to the bones if we share some personal examples. I'm very extroverted. My husband's very introverted. However, if I have to have a work dinner or something of that sort, the usual thing that he would want to do is to stay at home and not come to the dinner because he has to socialize, he has to interact with a lot of people, and sometimes, he's not feeling up to it. But because he knows how important that is to me, he will give up his peace and freedom and staying at home in order to reach a consensus and do something that would be, I guess, beneficial for both of us. They say a happy wife equals a happy life. So I thought I'll give that as an easy example.
Yep. And number two, for me, compromise again is about the future. It's about a thinking. Once something has happened, it's done. Then you forgive. So backwards is forgiveness, forward is compromise. Mean that there's something that you wanted to achieve in the future that you're willing to let go for the benefit of the other person. And most of the time, when you compromise, it's another way to dramatize love. I mean, if you remember the Bible, God gave his only begotten son, not for the past, but for the future. And when God gave his son, he was compromising. Why? Because he loves us. So it's impossible to have compromise, or it's challenging to have a compromising environment if you are not in love with the environment or the people that you are residing or working with.
Amen. Nothing to add.
As we conclude, John 14 verse 15 says, if you love me, you will keep my commandments. If you love me, you will keep my commandments. There are two things you can read from that. Number one, we have to love God. That is what. Number two, we can't compromise on his commandments, because if you compromise on his commandments, you are actually stopping loving God. And unfortunately, we live in a world that requires us to compromise in order to fit in our jobs, to make money, to live happy, to look like we're winning out there. But my advice to you, yes, you can compromise with the person next to you, you can compromise at work, but make sure that you don't take away the foundation, which are the commandments of God.
Oh, there's another thought that's actually come to my mind now. The Bible talks about, wives should respect their husbands and husbands should love their wives. But if you think about our natural way of being, women tend to be very self-sufficient. You can do everything on your own. And sometimes, the idea that you should, I guess, slow down and wait and give respect to someone else might not come as naturally as you'd want. And in the same breath, you'll find that you're married to a husband who, the concept of love for them is, I don't know, providing. But the concept of affection might not be as easy for them. But in order to reach an agreement, which is what Bonke was talking about forward thinking, the husband has to learn how to love his wife, right? How to be more affectionate. And in the same breath, wives need to learn what it means to be respectful to their husband. So what do I need to do as a wife in order for my husband to feel respected? Not my idea of respect, but what he deems to be respect for him. And so that you'll find that is a big area of compromise in any marriage, because we're not naturally born that way. I, for example, am from a family where my mom was a single mother who raised me. And so I tend to be quite headstrong. And so I had to learn what it means to be respectful and to compromise in a marriage. And in the same breath, my husband over here is very factual, not very affectionate sometimes. But in the last 14 years, he's had to learn what it means to hold my hand or kiss me in public when he doesn't want to. And small things like that go a long way in keeping a marriage healthy and full of love, like what we've discussed here. And of course, none of this actually works if God isn't the foundation of it all. Because when you're not able to reach a compromise, particularly in a marriage, the one thing that does help a lot is to have an equal value system. Because when all else fails, I know that I can get on my knees and pray to God, and similarly, He can do the same. And that is where we're always able to meet. So, first and foremost, build a marriage that is on a solid foundation, which is God.
That is all from us. God bless you, and thank you so much for the invitation.
Thank you.